Hey, Larry.
There you go.
There have been years here where you've been, 5 or 6 deep at defensive tackle. I'm just wondering, as you're, I guess, 2 weeks now out from the season, where do you think your depth is at that particular position?
We'll be right in the same boat. We'll have 3 guys can play inside, nose guard tackle, and then we'll have 3 guys can play 3 technique. We have some young players who are doing a great job of coming along, and so I think we'll be okay starting the season with 6 guys on the inside have opportunity to play.
Does that include Haskell and Tehran? I'm just wondering where both those guys are.
Haskell is not quite cleared yet because of his injury, and Tehran is a slow progress going on right now. I mean, hopefully we'll have him by the time we get to game week. We just bring him along slow with the pandemic, not be able to get rehab, all those things that he needs to have. So we just kind of bring him along, but his progress is going well. So we'll see what happens a bit closer to game week.
Thanks.
Yep.
Next up, Nathan Baird with Cleveland.com and Jared Smalley on deck. Nathan?
Yeah, Larry, my first question is actually going to be about Tehran and just what you expect from him in this coming season, considering having missed a whole year. I mean, what does that slow what he could potentially be this year, or do you still think this is a year where he could get closer to the ceiling that you guys kind of envisioned when you brought him in?
With the injury, being out of football for a long time, then the pandemic hit, not be able to practice. So it's a progress going forward. You just don't jump back in and be at the same level you were when you got here. So that's why we're doing a great job of kind of developing, getting the skill set back to where it needs to be. And being out of football for a year is really tough for anybody to come back and be ready to go. But I think the potential is there, no doubt about that. And now just get them ready to have an opportunity to go play in a game and play some live football. So we're working real hard to make sure that happens.
What's different about Zach Harrison today than from a year ago at this time?
Well, really just mature. He's really has done a great job of just maturing as a young player. He listens very well. He's very coachable. He has all the attributes, what we look for in a player. And Zach is a guy, you tell him to do something, he do exactly as you ask him to do. And that's what you want your players to do. And Zach is good. From his freshman year, coming in the door, he was different and finished the season the way he played. And the ceiling is very high for him going into his sophomore season. So I'm really pleased where he's at right now.
Next up, Jared Smalley, WCMH Channel 4, and Brendan Gulick on deck. Jared?
Hi, Larry. On a related note to Zach Harrison, obviously at that position, you're talking about the Bosa's, you're talking about Chase Young, some of the best football players Ohio State's had at that position. That sets a very high standard. I wonder, when you're tutoring a player like that, still a young man, how you use those as teaching tools, but also try to make sure that the pressure on them to live at that level is not too great, that it can be harmful to a player. How do you balance those things?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the biggest challenge for all players.
One and only vice presidential debate of 2020. We can expect to hear Vice President Mike Pence defending the Trump administration, while Senator Kamala Harris will likely focus on President Trump's mishandling of the pandemic. But this debate is happening less than a week.
Just hold a second. We're good? President debate. Another story. The biggest thing is just trying to really, I tell players all the time, you can't live up to that standard. The Bosa's a special player. Chase Young is a special player. But you can live up to who you can possibly be. And I think that's the biggest challenge. He's got to kind of block the noise from the outside that he's going to be the next guy and really continue to concentrate his development. And that's what I've been talking to him about. Just be the best player you can be, Zach. Don't worry about the standards set before you. It's great. But you got to be your own player. And that way he don't look at himself and say, hey, I got to do this, got to get so many sacks. It's tough doing that when you start chasing those kind of things. So he's doing a good job. He's listening. He understands exactly what it takes to be. We have a lot of noise here today, guys. He's done a good job of understanding what it takes to be an elite player. But at the same time, he's got to be himself. And that's the thing I'm talking to him about. If you got all that, with all that noise going on.
I'll weave that together. Larry, another question for you about Jonathan Cooper, the value that he brings back. And we've talked a little bit about the fact that he made this sacrifice a year ago to return for another year, and what that did for your team, what that may potentially do for him. Now that you've got him through a training camp and now you're getting closer to a first game, can you go Can you go back and just put a value on what his return will do for you?
From a leadership standpoint, just having a guy who's played 5 years, know the program, know the inside of what we do, and then walk back in the room for another year is kind of outstanding. Our players look up to him. The whole entire team look up to Jonathan Cooper. He is what you're looking for in a player. Look in the dictionary and find perseverance, and that's Jonathan Cooper. That's what he's doing. He's got a chance to have a special year. He is so excited. He's worked extremely hard to be where he's at right now. He's a different player. I tell people all the time that Jonathan Cooper has some special things ahead of him. Staying healthy is a key, but he's ready to go. He's excited. He's challenging the young players, and he's setting great marks that how you're supposed to do as a player. And I think that's the biggest thing. A guy like Zach Harris and Tariq Smith and Tyler Friday and Javante Baptiste look at Cooper and say, hey, this is how you're supposed to do it. And I think that's value to the room, my room especially, but for the team to see how hard he works.
Next up, Brendan Gulick, Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated with Austin Ward on deck. Brendan?
Hi, Larry. Nice to talk to you. Thanks for taking some time. I want to ask you a little bit of a bigger picture question here, because obviously this has been as unusual an off season as you've probably ever been through.
Yep.
Why is Ohio State such a special place to you, and how have the last few months perhaps brought that more to the forefront for you?
That's a great question. I tell you what, I don't think I would be here as long as I've been here based on where I've done in the past because of the people here. I'm talking from administration down to the athletic director to our head coach, Ryan Day, and especially our players. And then the people in the communities, it's just outstanding people. You talk about, in all areas, we've got world-class doctors here that take care of our players. One of the things I said to myself, when the pandemic hit, I'm more safe here than ever been. I feel safe because of the people that we have around us taking care of us. And my players ask me, Coach, what are you going to do? Your age and all that, what are you going to do? I say, you know what? I'm here because I feel very comfortable with the people here we have around us, our world-class doctors, world-class people to take care of us. And that really makes me really feel safe, secure, and certainly my family appreciate that. But what a great place. And not only just football, just a great place to live, great community, just a great fan base. And it's been a joy for me to be here in my sixth, going to my 7th year now.
Thank you.
Next up, Austin Ward, Letterman Row with Dan Hope on deck. Austin?
Hey, Larry.
Hey, Austin.
We've seen, obviously, over the years how important that three technique position is for you. You've also at times sort of borrowed from the edge to fill that.
Mm-hmm.
If Ron was hurt, or if you needed to move somebody, have you considered that at all to transition yet another guy inside, sort of like Jay Sean did last year?
Yeah, we got a plan. We always want to have our best pass rushers on the field, third down situation. So we're always going to transition into that. So yes, we're working guys that I feel have a chance to really do something with the three technique if we need to make a change to rush the passer. So that's always going to be part of our plan going forward. We just don't know who's going to emerge as that guy right now as we got maybe 2 weeks away from the game. But yeah, that's always going to be our plan, to be able to have the opportunity to do that with the three technique rush the passer.
So you're the expert, and sometimes I just throw out that maybe Tyler Friday would be someone who could play in there. Am I wrong at that, or what would you be looking for if somebody needed to kick inside?
Let's just say this, Austin, you really asked a great question, but I'm not going to give you my tidbits now, so you know that. You know me better than that. Great job of trying to get me to say who it is, but I'm just going to tell you, we're going to have a couple guys to be able to do it, so we just have to wait and see if we have the opportunity against Nebraska in the third down, that you'll see the guys emerge that I think you'll like what we're doing.
I mean, I haven't seen you in like 7 months, so I had to at least try.
Yeah, I haven't forgot who you are, so I appreciate it. Thanks.
Next up, Dan Hope with 11 Warriors and Bill Rabinowitz on deck. Dan?
Hey, Larry. I know that Juan's a guy who's spent some time at both a nose and a free tech spot. Kind of where do you see him factoring in right now?
I'm sorry, who's the name?
Antoine Jackson.
Yeah, Antoine has had a really great camp. I can tell you that. He's had a great camp. He's done some really good things. Him and Tommy Togia has been really a foundation of what we're doing right now. And Antoine gives value because he can play two positions. He can play nose and play three technique. So when you go on a row, you have a guy, you really gain an extra guy. If something happened in nose position, he can go ahead and play nose or play three technique. But that's kind of the versatility he brings to the table. And I really kind of like where he's at right now. He's practicing really well and doing some good things for us.
and I know that Ty Hamilton was one of the first guys to lose his black stripe. How's he been doing, and what about Darian and Jacoby as well?
Ty has been doing really well. Ty's put on 20 pounds since he's been here. He came in at 260. He's about 285 right now. And we're going to move him inside. I think that we're doing the same thing. We're trying to transition from being a big nose guard and to a 3 technique. And so that's going really well for him right now. I like where he's at as a young player. He's still in the development stage, but he's really done a good job since he's been here. He's gotten stronger. He's got a chance to be a player going forward. Darian is at the defensive end position. He's working hard, trying to learn the system. And he's making progress. I mean, him and Noah Potter is another guy in position. They're both guys making progress right now.
Thanks, Larry.
Sure.
Next up, Bill Rabinowitz with the Columbus Dispatch and Dave Biddle on deck. Bill?
Hi, Larry.
Hey, Bill.
Another question about Zach Harrison.
Yeah.
You talked about him wanting to not feel like he's got to be the next Chase Young or the next Bosa. But he obviously is an extremely talented guy. How does he kind of handle that pressure? Maybe it's self-imposed. And just, could he be one of those kind of players?
He certainly has potential to be that. Going into his sophomore year, and every sophomore and every great player coach, the Bosa's, Chase, there's an up and down in the sophomore year, trying to feel that role that I have to do this, I have to be this. And that's what happens when you do that. You put too much pressure on yourself. And all of a sudden, you start chasing things you shouldn't chase. So really just trying to keep Zach balanced. We do a great deal of talking about what is expected of him so he doesn't make the expectation bigger than he can handle. And again, he's just a sophomore. And so as a sophomore, he's still learning how to do this thing the right way. But I like where he's at. He's got a chance. Really just depends on him and how he's developed as we go forward.
And could you just kind of discuss, he was on the Big Ten's anti-hate, anti-racism coalition. Just give a sense of just, that he's more than a football player, what he's like just as a guy.
What a great guy. Got a sense of humor. You wouldn't know that until you sit down and talk with him, but he's very bright, very, what I call is very, self-centered in himself and what he thinks. He's an inner thinker. He's a deep thinker. He says some things in the office, you go, wow, man, Zach, man, that's really awesome. And he cares about people. He's involved. He cares about people. He cares about equality. He cares about how people feel. And I think that's really, his compassion he has for people and for himself. So Zach is not only an outstanding football player, but he's a great person. And I think that goes back to mom and dad, in the sense of how they raised him and brought him up. But what a joy to have just to sit around and talk to him. You get so many light things that he says that you go, wow, that is pretty impressive, Zach. And so I like spending my time with Zach because he allows you to calm down because he has that calming feel about what he does.
Thanks, Larry.
You got it.
Next up, Dave Biddle, 24/7 Sports with Tony Gerdman on deck. Dave?
Hi, Larry.
Hey, Dave.
Who are the top 3 guys at the 3 tech right now? I know you said Antoine Jackson moves around to both, but who are maybe some of the top 3 guys, maybe some of the guys that are in the mix to be in the top 3?
Well, I think we got a couple of guys. I really like Jaden Mckenzie. He's starting to make a push right now. He's done a great job in camp. He's up about 285, and it shows value that he can do it. Jerron Cage, another guy that we could play the 3 technique. That we can rotate in there, and then we just got to wait and see how the other guy Jerron and Haskell goes through his recovery, how that goes. So I think we got bodies that can go in there and play. We just got to see how things go forward.
And at the 1 tech, is Tommy the starter, and then who would be the top guys kind of behind Tommy?
Yeah, so what we're doing there, Tommy is there, and this guy's had a great camp also. And then you have Jerron Cage who can go both sides, and we work in Ty Hamilton a little bit at nose guard and get him a chance to see what he can do. So I think we got enough bodies in there. We just got to see who's going to emerge as the player as we go forward. 2 weeks left.
Thanks, Larry. I appreciate it.
Sure. Yeah, you got it.
Next up, Tony Gerdman with Buckeye Scoop and Stephen Means on deck. Tony?
Larry, a couple quick things.
Hey, Tony.
You mentioned some of the defensive ends moving inside. Is that just on 3rd downs, passing downs, or is that a possibility on running downs as well?
It could be. We don't really sure yet. Nebraska's a running team, so we got to be prepared for the running game going forward. So we'll see how that plays out as we go forward. But I would say this, each between Javonte Baptiste and Tyler Friday, and Cooper, and Zach, it really give a good chance to do a lot of things, those 5 guys. So I'm looking forward to see how we fit as we go forward.
And then you mentioned Haskell isn't quite cleared. When do you expect that to happen? Could he miss a couple of games? What kind of time frame do you think we're looking at?
Yeah, we don't know yet. He's a very sensitive area that he was injury. So we just kind of wait and see and let the doctors tell us when he's ready to go. He's in practice. He's just some things that he cannot do. But he is in practice every day. He's really engaged. He's in the meetings, and he's in great spirits. And so we just kind of wait and see how the doctors release him. He has not been released yet, so we'll see how it goes.
What went through your mind when that whole thing happened?
Scary, very, very scary. It was a very shocking move for all of us. Very blessed for him, how lucky he is. Again, it goes back to what I said earlier, but what a great doctors at the medical center, right? Just really incredible people and what they did, and to get in the position he is right now. But it was scary, to get a phone call that late at night, and now that one of your players has been shot. But I'm just so thankful and blessed that he's in the position he is. He's recovered very well. He's in good spirits, and just one of those moments you'll carry for the rest of your life. How close it is, from breathing life and then life being taken away from you at such a young age. So,
thank you.
Next up, Stephen Means with Cleveland.com, and Tim May on deck. Stephen.
Hi, Stephen.
Hey, Larry. How you doing?
Good.
In 2017, you seemed that you just had a lot of depth at both edge rushers positions. I think you had 4 guys who had plus 500 snaps. Last season, you didn't necessarily need that because, you had Heisman Trophy finalist. So he's probably not coming off the field anyway. It seems like in this room this year, it's closer to what 2017 was as far as the depth. I guess what was the benefit of that level of depth in 2017 and how you see that playing out in 2020?
Yeah, I think you're right on. I think 2017 was a year we had a lot of depth. I think with Therese Smith and Zach and all the guys I mentioned earlier, it gives us a chance to have really 5 good guys can go and play with a backup, either Noah Prider or Darion Henry as we go forward. But it gives me a chance to move those guys around, and we can play fresh. I'm really big in having guys play fresh and playing fast, and that gives us a chance to do that. And so I'm glad you said that. But I think 2017 was that year that we did that. And I think this year is going to look about the same way, and no doubt about it, with those guys.
And then from a recruiting standpoint, when you're trying to close out a class, and maybe there's a guy that you would like to add in your room, but obviously as the NCAA stated, you're not allowed to get the kid on campus. What's the difficulty in trying to finish off that relationship and kind of close that? Just the difficulty in recruiting a kid like that.
I think you're right. The biggest thing, not getting kids on campus, that's tough, with the pandemic. And so you have to do a really good and try to take the campus to them, opportunity to see that, And so really it's about how the kids see us, how you think you can fit into our system. So you try to share that with, exactly how we fit, how you fit in our defensive scheme and what we're looking for. But, there's nothing like being on campus for in person to get to meet the people that you're going to be around. So that's probably the toughest thing.
Thanks, Larry.
Yeah.
Next up, Tim May with the Tim May podcast and Letterman Row, and Pat Murphy on deck. Tim?
Yeah, 3 quickies, Larry. Number one, did you opt into the 5% contract cut like Gene Smith said that the contracted guys out there, they couldn't force you guys to take a cut, but I'm just wondering, did you, and just and if you did, why did you opt in?
Yeah, I did opt in. I think it's the right thing to do. It's the right thing to do. It's a great athletic department. Gene Smith is a great athletic director, and it's the right thing to do. And so I didn't hesitate, when he told us what was going to happen. So yeah, I did opt in, and I'm glad I did.
And number 2, a couple of the linebackers mentioned last week that coaches have been on them to watch the last 3 games of last year when things seemed to kind of slip, things got a little bit loose defensively and stuff. And how much have you harped on that with your guys? But mainly, what was learned, I guess, over those last 3 games, but the last game especially, about what could be tightened up with the defense this year?
The biggest thing, bro, is giving up big plays. When you give up big plays on defense, game changes, no question about that. And so you have to limit the big plays. And we had some big explosive plays in that game, the last game we played. And that's something we have to look at and try to find a fix. And I think the season go on like everything else. You do something very well, teams try to find a way to take advantage of what you do. And I think at the end of the season, team looked at us and say, we can attack Ohio State this way, And so what we have to do is look at those mistakes we made last year, the big plays we gave up, and try not to repeat that. And so I think that's what we're doing right now, working on those that concept of really fixing our big play that happened last year, because we'll probably see them again this year, no question about it. It's a copy.
One last quickie. You're a veteran coach. What have you had to switch up, change about just regular day-to-day practices since y'all have gone to full pads and stuff? What have you altered, et cetera, just in your routine with these players about what you're doing and maybe what you're not doing like you used to do in the past? Can you give an example or two?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is touching and hugging your players. I think I'm I'm a on-touch guy. I like to hug my players, be around them, and you just can't do it. I think that's the toughest thing for me, that you can't be as close as you want to be to your players. So we're always elbow bumping, that's, you can't show true love, but I'm one of those guys like to express my feelings, how I feel about a guy. That's probably the toughest thing. And then always talking in the distant and then wearing a mask for all the right reason you're wearing a mask, but now you're in the football field and then you have to continue to do that. You coach from a distance almost, I'm standing 5-6 feet away. You yelling at my guy as opposed to being up close, So I think that's the thing that's been the toughest for me to learn how to do, is to control my emotion with my players. And I don't know what's going to happen game time, I can stay away from jumping them and celebrating with them. So I think that's the toughest thing, Tim.
It hasn't caused you to curse yet, has it?
That'll never happen, Tim.
All right. Thanks, man.
Okay, we're down to our final two individuals for Coach Johnson. Next up, Pat Murphy with 24/7 Sports, and Spencer Holbrook on deck. Pat?
Hey, Pat.
Hey, Larry. How are you?
Good, thanks.
Similar to Steven's question a couple questions ago about the depth at defensive end, is this one of those years where maybe you don't list – you list it, but a starter doesn't matter? These guys are going to see plenty of snaps as you rotate through like you have in the past?
You're right on. That's what's going to happen. We had a conversation the other day. You get 5 guys, and they all can be started anywhere in the country. And so I'm going to treat them that way. They're all 5 starters for me right now. And so we are. We're going to do a good job and make sure each guy get a chance to start as we go through the season. But I could be pleased where we're at right now. The 5 guys there, I'm going to keep them all healthy. From Tariq all the way down to Devontae Baptiste. These guys have done a really great job and extremely work. You're doing it working hard. I just can't speak the vibe how hard these guys have worked. So they all deserve a chance to be starters, and they will be.
And when you've done this before, obviously, so when you have that conversation with guys, especially guys that were highly recruited, want to play a lot, how do you get them to buy into the rotational idea of what this year will probably look like?
Again, I think the biggest thing I saw is that you can't play 60 plays at full speed. No one can, but you can play 30, 35 plays at full speed. And every play you put on videotape is a high-speed play. And I think it helps them. And so I think our guys understand that they all want to be on the field, but they know that there's a certain time as we go forward. Some guys are going to emerge now. Some guys are going to emerge and push themselves ahead. And if that happens, we'll make a change. But right now, I think they all have opportunity to be starters, and I think they understand how that's going to work out. They're all going to play. Where it's 30, 35 plays a game, we'll just see how it goes. But they're all going to play. Yep.
Thanks, Larry.
Yep.
And final questions from Spencer Holbrook, Letterman Row. Spencer?
Hey, Larry. Tommy Togiai was a guy who was on the field for a lot of rundowns last year and didn't rush the passer as much. Tommy Togiai, have you seen him improve as a pass rusher? And how confident are you that he can stay on the field on, those third downs where you need a pass rush?
Yeah. Great question. Yeah, we just saw Tom in the eye shirt. Your nose guards, we don't look for a nose guard, a lot of pass rush because they get double teamed all the time. Devon Hammond, what he did at nose guard is really unheard of. He got 8 sacks or 7 to 8 sacks in the nose guard position. That's tough to do when you get double teamed. Tommy has the same kind. He's powerful, he's strong, he's athletic. He'll have a chance to rush the pass rusher going forward. With limited plays, you don't get a lot of chance. Now he's playing 40, 45 plays a game. He'll have some opportunity to rush the pass rusher. But I'm very confident he has the ability to do that.
And then another guy on the inside, you recruited Antoine Jackson, and we talked to you last year about bringing him in as a transfer. How unique is that? And then from there, what have you seen out of him in the second year in the program now that makes you think he can really contribute?
Yeah, it is unique. Very seldom do we go back and get a guy who committed to us and deep commit and go to somewhere else and then come back to it. That's tough to do. But Antoine came with a great attitude. And he worked extremely hard since he's been here. And I said to him the other day, this is his moment, this is his time. He's had a great preseason camp. He really has. And I hope that he continues to progress, but we expect great things from him going into the fall. But Antoine's done a great job for us.
Great. Coach Johnson, thank you so much for your time today. Have a great afternoon and an excellent practice. Thanks again.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to click on that subscribe button so you don't miss a single thing, and come visit us over at BuckeyeGrove.com for all the best Ohio State information on the web.